Amina was not like the other girls in her village. From a young age she loved to climb trees, chase after birds along the riverbank, and kick a football until the sun sank low behind the hills. She had a laugh that carried across the open fields, and her energy was endless. But the village had rules for girls and everyone knew them. Girls were supposed to stay home, help with chores and speak quietly. They were supposed to wear long dresses, braid their hair neatly and never run or jump like boys. Every day, Amina felt trapped, like a bird in a small cage that had forgotten how to fly. Her mother, Halima, often reminded her of the rules. "Amina, you must behave," she said one morning as Amina tried to climb a mango tree. "Girls do not climb trees. You will fall and bring shame to the family." Amina's younger brother, Musa, shook his head with amusement. "She is impossible, Mama," he said, grinning. Amina smiled back at him, feeling a spark of rebellion. She loved Musa's freedom, his ability to run through the streets, climb trees and play football whenever he wanted. She wanted the same. Every day, Amina watched the boys run and play in the open fields. She saw their laughter, their carefree movements, and the way they were allowed to explore the forests and rivers freely. Sometimes she joined them secretly, hiding her long hair and tucking her dress into her belt so no one would notice. But the effort to hide herself made her uneasy. She felt like she was living two lives. One in which she followed the rules and stayed silent, and another in which she was free, alive, and truly herself. One morning, while helping her mother clean the yard, Amina looked at her reflection in the water of a small clay bowl. Her long hair hung down like a heavy curtain, and she felt it weighed her down. She could see her own eyes staring back, bright, restless, and longing. She remembered the stories of brave women her grandmother had told her, women who had traveled, fought, or challenged unfair rules. She wondered why she could not be like them, why she had to obey rules that seemed pointless and unfair. The thought stayed in her mind all day. She helped with the chores, swept the yard, and carried water from the well, but her heart felt restless. In the afternoon, Musa came running up with his friends, laughing and shouting. "Come, Amina. Come play with us," he shouted. Amina hesitated. If she joined them now, she would get scolded. But the desire to run freely, to climb and kick the ball, was too strong. She made a decision, sudden but certain, that she had never made before. That evening, after everyone had gone to bed, Amina took a small pair of scissors from the kitchen. She looked at her reflection one more time. The thought of cutting her long hair scared her, but the excitement of freedom burned brighter. She wanted to feel the wind on her neck, to move without restriction, to be someone who could explore the world without barriers. Slowly, carefully she began to cut. Each lock of hair that fell to the floor felt like a weight leaving her shoulders. When she finished, she touched her short hair and smiled. She barely recognized herself, but for the first time she felt completely alive. Next, she went to Musa's wardrobe and took some of his clothes. A loose shirt, pants that fit her just enough, and a pair of old shoes. She tried them on in secret, standing in front of the small mirror in her room. The clothes were different, comfortable, practical, and freeing. When she moved, she could stretch, jump, and run without feeling trapped. She looked at herself and laughed quietly. She had never felt so light, so powerful, so free. In that moment, Amina made a promise to herself. She would explore the world in her own way, even if others did not approve. The next morning she stepped outside in her new clothes. The sun was rising over the hills, painting the fields gold. Birds chirped and the air was cool and fresh. Amina walked through the village streets, feeling eyes on her. Some villagers stared, whispering to each other. Some shook their heads in disapproval and a few smiled, unsure why. She ignored them all and kept walking, feeling the first taste of independence in her chest. She went to the open field where the boys usually played football and ran straight into the game. At first, the boys stared at her, confused. "Amin?" one of them said. "Who is this?" But Musa laughed and clapped his sister on the back. "It's Amina," he said proudly. "She's joining us." Slowly the boys accepted her and she began to play. She ran faster than before, kicked the ball with precision, and climbed the small walls around the field with ease. Her laughter mixed with theirs, echoing across the fields. For the first time she felt equal, free and strong. Her family noticed quickly. Halima came rushing to the field, worry and anger written on her face. "Amina, what are you doing? Come home this instant," she shouted. But Amina, feeling brave for the first time, stood her ground. "Mama, I just want to play," she said. "I'm not hurting anyone. I just want to feel free." Halima shook her head, frustrated, but there was something in Amina's eyes, a determination, a fire, that made her pause. Amina's father, Idris, appeared behind her mother. He frowned, unsure whether to scold or to admire his daughter's courage. That day, Amina returned home reluctantly after the game. She was exhausted, her clothes dirty and her shoes worn, but her heart was light. She knew she had made a choice that would change her life forever. For the first time, she understood that freedom sometimes required courage, risk, and defiance. She also realized that the journey would not be easy. Some villagers would disapprove, some friends might turn away, and her family might struggle to accept her. But she felt ready. She felt alive. Over the next few days, Amina continued her new routine. She dressed as a boy, explored the fields, climbed trees and played with the boys. She learned quickly that life was different when people assumed she was a boy. Doors that had been closed to her as a girl were now open. She could move freely, speak boldly, and try things she had only dreamed of before. Each day gave her confidence and skill, and she began to see the world differently. Even at home, Amina's presence began to change things. Halima, though worried, noticed her daughter's happiness and strength. Musa felt proud and supportive. Idris, though strict, admired her courage. Slowly, Amina's choice began to ripple through her family, showing them that rules and expectations could sometimes limit the heart more than they protected it. By the end of the week, Amina had fully embraced her decision. She had discovered a new identity, one that gave her freedom, strength, and confidence. She knew that her life would never be the same, that challenges and judgments lay ahead, but she also knew she was ready to face them. She had chosen to be herself, to explore the world on her own terms, and to prove that courage and determination could break the limits society placed on her. In the quiet of the evening, Amina sat on the small hill overlooking her village. The wind played with her short hair, and the sky glowed with gold and pink. She thought about the road ahead, the adventures waiting, and the challenges she might face. For the first time she felt fully alive, fully free and fully herself. She had made a choice that would shape her life forever, and she smiled, knowing that nothing could take away the courage she had found within. From the moment Amina decided to dress like a boy, she felt a new kind of freedom she had never known before. Calling herself Amin, she walked through the village streets with her head held high, her short hair bouncing lightly as she moved. The air seemed different, lighter, less restrictive. People who had scolded her for running, climbing, or playing now looked at her with a mixture of curiosity and admiration. They assumed she was a boy, and suddenly doors and spaces that had been closed to her were open. The village felt like a new world, full of possibilities. Every morning Amina woke before the sun, put on Musa's clothes and stepped outside into the cool, quiet streets. The first thing she noticed was the way people greeted her differently. Boys nodded and smiled, sharing small jokes or calling her to play football. Merchants at the market waved her over to help carry baskets or run errands. Villagers who had never spoken directly to her now included her in conversations. She felt invisible in one sense. People did not see her for who she truly was, but also fully included in a way she had never experienced. One of her favorite activities was playing football with the boys. They ran across the open fields, kicking and passing the ball, laughing loudly as the sun climbed higher in the sky. As Amin, she could compete without fear of being judged for being a girl. She could run as fast as she wanted, tackle the ball, and even climb the small stone walls to retrieve it when it rolled away. Each game made her stronger, more confident, and more aware of her abilities. She learned quickly to think like the boys around her, to anticipate their moves and to speak boldly on the field. Amina also helped the village carpenter, Mr. Jallo, a kind and patient man who often needed an extra hand. As Amin, she carried wooden planks, hammered nails, and learned how to measure and cut the wood accurately. Mr. Jallo praised her efforts, saying she had a natural talent for the work. "You are strong and careful, Amin," he said one day. "You have the mind of a builder and the hands of a craftsman." Amina felt pride swell in her chest. No one had ever said such things to her before, and she realized that her strength was not just physical but also mental. She had learned to focus, to plan, and to work with purpose. Despite the freedoms and opportunities, Amina had to be careful. She could not let anyone discover her secret, or the consequences could be severe. She avoided certain people, spoke in a lower voice, and moved carefully when her long hair threatened to escape from her cap. Sometimes she felt anxious and lonely. There were moments when she wanted to laugh and talk openly with her friends or her family about her day, but she had to remain Amin to protect herself. The constant hiding weighed on her, like carrying a heavy bag that she could not set down. One afternoon, while exploring the edge of the forest with the boys, Amina felt the thrill of adventure. They climbed over rocks, chased after birds, and waded through a small stream. No one questioned her presence, and for hours she felt completely free. The forest, the trees, and the flowing water became her sanctuary, a place where she could be both brave and clever without fear of being judged. She thought about the world beyond the village and dreamed of places she had only read about in books or heard about in stories. She wanted to travel, to learn, and to see what lay beyond the horizon. Amina also observed how the boys lived their lives and discovered that freedom came with its own challenges. They were expected to act tough, speak boldly, and compete with each other constantly. Some boys were harsh to one another, and some carried fears and insecurities that they hid behind laughter or bravado. Watching them, Amina understood that life, even when freer, was not easy. It required courage, cleverness, and patience. She began to see the world more clearly, understanding that her own struggles as a girl had been one side of a larger story. The market was another place where Amina's disguise proved useful. As Amin, she could run errands, carry heavy baskets, and speak directly with traders without being interrupted or dismissed. She learned to bargain, to notice small details, and to understand the rhythms of trade. Traders began to respect her intelligence and strength, sometimes asking her opinion on deals or how to carry their goods efficiently. Amina felt proud to contribute in ways she had never been allowed as a girl. She realized that knowledge and skill were powerful, and that her abilities could open doors no matter who she was. Yet, hiding her identity created moments of loneliness. Sometimes when she returned home, she would remove her cap, look at her reflection, and feel the weight of secrecy. She could not fully share her joys or frustrations with anyone except Lami, a close friend who had begun to suspect her secret. Lami promised to keep it safe, and their quiet understanding became a source of comfort. Amina felt that Lami was the only person who truly knew both sides of her, the girl who loved her family and the brave boy she pretended to be. Over time, Amina became skilled at balancing her two worlds. She could walk through the village streets as Amin, exploring, working, and playing without fear, and then return home to the small comforts of her family. She learned to speak firmly when needed, to act quickly in dangerous or difficult situations, and to understand the strengths and weaknesses of those around her. She felt more capable every day and realized that her courage had grown in ways she had never imagined. One evening, as the sun set over the village, Amina sat on a hilltop, looking at the fields and rivers she had explored that day. She thought about how her life had changed in such a short time. Dressing like a boy had given her freedom, strength, and opportunity. But it also came with responsibility, the need to hide, the need to act carefully, and the knowledge that being discovered could bring trouble. She felt a mixture of pride and anxiety, knowing that she had chosen a path that would shape her life forever. She also noticed the small ways her family was beginning to accept her change. Musa smiled more often, proud of her courage. Her mother watched her carefully but seemed less strict, perhaps realizing that Amina was learning lessons that rules could not teach. Even her father seemed more thoughtful, noticing her determination and cleverness. These small signs gave her hope, even as she continued to live as Amin in public. Over the weeks, Amina's life as Amin became routine. She woke early, dressed carefully, and moved through the village with confidence. She played football, helped in the market, assisted Mr. Jallo, and explored the forests. Each day taught her something new about strength, courage, and cleverness. She learned that freedom was not just about movement, it was about choices, responsibility, and the courage to be herself even when society said she should not. Through it all, Amina remained aware of the risks. A sudden slip, a word spoken too loudly, or a curious glance could reveal her secret. She moved cautiously yet boldly, learning the balance between caution and courage. Each day added to her confidence, and she felt herself growing into a person capable of handling life's challenges, whether as Amina or as Amin. By the end of the season, the villagers knew Amin as a strong, clever, and reliable helper. No one suspected that beneath the cap and short hair was a young girl who had dared to defy tradition. Amina had carved out a space for herself in a world that often sought to limit her. She had discovered freedom, skill, and a sense of self that could not be taken away, even if the secret were someday discovered. In the quiet evenings, Amina often reflected on her life. She thought about the differences between boys and girls, rules and freedom, and fear and courage. She understood that dressing like a boy had changed her perspective and taught her lessons that no one could teach with words alone. It had given her confidence, independence, and the ability to navigate a complex world. She knew her journey was just beginning, but she felt ready for whatever came next, knowing that she could face it with cleverness, courage, and determination. And so, Amina continued to live her life as Amin, exploring the world freely, learning new skills, and understanding the depths of her own strength. Each day was a mixture of excitement, challenge, and discovery. She had found a way to be herself in a world that often demanded conformity, and she knew that the choices she had made would affect her life forever. Amina's life as Amin continued to bring freedom, adventure, and a sense of accomplishment. Each day she ventured through the village, she noticed new opportunities that had never been available to her as a girl. The freedom she gained by dressing as a boy opened doors she had only dreamed about, and slowly, the villagers began to trust and rely on her for responsibilities beyond games and small chores. The sense of pride and purpose grew within her with each passing day, but at the same time, a quiet longing tugged at her heart, the desire to share her true self with others. One bright morning, the village chief, Elder Baraka, announced that preparations for the annual festival would begin. This festival was important, marking the harvest and celebrating the community's unity. Traditionally, organizing the festival was the responsibility of the boys and men of the village. As soon as Elder Baraka mentioned needing volunteers, Amina's heart raced. Here was a chance to help in a big way, to prove her intelligence and skill beyond the games she played or the chores she helped with. She approached Elder Baraka, keeping her voice steady and her posture confident. "Sir," she said, "I can help organize the festival. I know where we can place the stalls, how to arrange the food, and even plan the games for children." The elder looked at her curiously. "Amin, you are young but you speak with clarity and thought. Very well, I trust you to assist." Amina felt a rush of excitement. This was more than a game or a simple chore, it was a responsibility that mattered to the entire village. Over the next few days, Amina threw herself into organizing the festival. She moved among the villagers, directing tasks, carrying supplies, and helping build small stages for performances. Her energy and clever planning impressed not only the children and young boys but also the adults. People began to notice her dedication, intelligence, and the ease with which she handled challenges. Elders praised her for thinking ahead, for solving problems calmly, and for showing leadership that even some older boys struggled to display. Meanwhile, Amina also began teaching younger children to play football fairly and with respect. She explained the rules clearly, encouraged teamwork, and showed how to celebrate both victory and effort. The children listened carefully, watching how Amin played and guided them. Slowly they began to adopt her lessons, not only learning the sport but also learning patience, fairness, and cooperation. Amina found joy in teaching, realizing that her influence could shape the future of the village. She felt proud but also a quiet sadness. She could not reveal her true identity to them. The secret of being Amina weighed on her heart, especially as she watched the children look up to Amin with admiration. Lami, Amina's closest friend, had begun to suspect the truth. She had noticed the changes in Amina's behavior, the careful way she moved, and the way she laughed differently when pretending to be Amin. One afternoon, Lami approached her quietly while they were gathering firewood. "Amin, I think I know your secret," she whispered. Amina froze, her heart racing. She turned to Lami with wide eyes. "You do?" she asked, her voice low. Lami nodded, smiling gently. "I won't tell anyone," she said. "I just want you to know I understand. You don't have to carry this alone." Amina felt a wave of relief. Having someone who understood her, even quietly, made the burden of her secret lighter. She smiled at Lami, grateful for her loyalty and friendship. "Thank you," she whispered. "It means a lot to me." That simple acknowledgement gave her courage to continue her efforts in the village, knowing she was not completely alone. The festival day arrived and the village buzzed with excitement. Colorful decorations adorned the streets, small stalls were set up with food, crafts, and games, and music filled the air. Children ran excitedly, and villagers gathered to celebrate the harvest and each other. Amina moved through the crowd, ensuring everything ran smoothly. She directed the children for their games, checked the arrangements of the stalls, and helped the elders with the ceremonies. Every task she completed brought her a quiet sense of pride, a knowledge that her efforts mattered and that her abilities had made a difference. Elder Baraka publicly praised her. "Amin has done excellent work in preparing this festival," he said to the crowd. "He has shown wisdom, courage, and skill beyond his years. Let us celebrate not only the harvest but also the effort and dedication of all our young helpers." The villagers murmured in agreement, nodding and smiling at Amin's efforts. Amina's heart swelled with pride, but beneath the clothes and cap, she wished she could step forward as herself, to be recognized not just as Amin but as Amina. She wanted people to see her true face, her true courage, and the choices she had made. After the festival, villagers approached her individually, complimenting her work. "You organized the games perfectly," said one elder. "And your guidance for the children was very wise." Amina nodded politely, hiding the full joy she felt inside. She realized that her disguise had given her these opportunities, but it also separated her from the recognition she secretly longed for. She had learned, however, that sometimes actions mattered more than acknowledgement, and that her work had already made a difference in the lives of many. Evening came and Amina walked home with Lami. The two friends shared stories about the day, laughing quietly and replaying the events. "You did amazing," Lami said. "The festival would not have gone so smoothly without you." Amina smiled, feeling warmth in her chest. "I just wish I could be myself too," she said softly. "I wish people could see me, Amina, not just Amin." Lami squeezed her hand. "They will see your heart eventually. What you have done speaks louder than words or appearances." Days turned into weeks and the opportunities continued. Villagers began to seek Amin's advice on other matters. They asked for help with building repairs, organizing small events, and teaching younger children. Each new responsibility taught Amina something about leadership, problem-solving, and courage. She realized that her disguise had not only given her freedom but had also allowed her to grow in ways she could not have imagined. She had learned to speak confidently, act decisively, and make choices that affected others positively. Amina also noticed how differently people treated her now. Boys who had once ignored her, thinking she was too small or weak, now looked to Amin for guidance. Elders who had dismissed her ideas began to nod and listen. Even some parents approached her for advice about teaching their children. She felt a quiet satisfaction, knowing that she had earned respect not through birth or gender, but through courage, skill, and effort. At night, alone in her room, Amina reflected on all that had happened. Dressing like a boy had changed her life completely. She had more freedom, more respect, and more opportunities than she had ever imagined. Yet there was a quiet ache, the desire to be seen as herself, not just as Amin. She missed the ability to be open about her feelings and to share her true identity with the world. She wondered if one day people would understand her choices, if they would see her courage and determination rather than just her appearance. Still, Amina felt proud. She had taken a bold step, faced challenges, and discovered skills she did not know she possessed. She had made a difference in her village, helping children learn, organizing events, and earning respect from the community. Lami's quiet understanding reminded her that she was not alone, and that friendship and trust mattered as much as freedom and adventure. As the weeks passed, Amina continued to balance her life. She remained Amin in public, seizing opportunities to help, teach, and lead. She also cherished the quiet moments at home with Lami and her family, where she could reflect, rest, and dream. Each day strengthened her courage, skill, and sense of self. She knew challenges and risks lay ahead, but she felt ready to face them with determination and cleverness. Through it all, Amina realized a profound truth. Freedom and opportunity could come in unexpected ways, and courage often required taking risks that others might not understand. Dressing like a boy had opened doors, yes, but it had also taught her lessons about patience, secrecy, empathy, and leadership. She had learned to navigate the world in a new way, gaining both practical skills and inner strength. And so, Amina's life continued, full of adventures, responsibilities, and new opportunities. She had proven to herself that she could rise to challenges, help others, and grow in ways that mattered. While her secret identity remained, the lessons she learned and the respect she earned shaped her into someone stronger, braver, and wiser than she had ever been before. Life had been going well for Amina. As Amin, she had gained respect, freedom, and new opportunities. She could explore the village, play football, help in the market, and organize festivals. She had friends, admirers, and a sense of purpose she had never felt before. But keeping her secret required constant care. Every day she had to be careful with her movements, her voice, and the small details that could reveal her identity. It was exciting, but it was also tiring, and she often worried about the consequences if someone discovered the truth. One sunny morning, the village was busy with preparations for another small event. Children were running through the streets, carrying baskets of fruit and flowers. Adults were setting up stalls, cleaning spaces, and arranging decorations. Amina, as Amin, was helping the elders lift crates and organize tables near the central square. She wore her usual boyish clothes and a cap to cover her short hair. Everything seemed normal, and she felt confident that no one suspected anything. As she moved quickly to help a friend carry a heavy basket of yams, she tripped over a stone and fell forward. The cap on her head slipped, and for a moment her short hair was fully exposed. Time seemed to freeze. Children stopped running. Adults turned toward her. Whispers filled the air, and then a loud gasp spread through the crowd. People were staring at her, their eyes wide with shock. Amina scrambled to cover her head, but the moment had passed. Her secret was revealed. Is that a girl?" a young boy stammered, pointing at her. The crowd murmured, some in disbelief, some in astonishment. Amina's heart pounded in her chest. She wanted to run, hide, or disappear. Her mind raced with fear. What would her parents say? What would the villagers think? Would they punish her, mock her, or turn away from her entirely? She could feel their eyes on her, a mixture of confusion, anger, and curiosity. Her mother, Halima, rushed forward first. "Amina. What is this?" she cried, her voice filled with shock and worry. Her father, Idris, came close behind, frowning deeply. "This is not right," he said. "Why would you do this? Why would you pretend to be a boy?" Amina stood up slowly, feeling both fear and determination. She could not hide now. Her secret was out and she had to face the consequences. Taking a deep breath, she removed the cap completely and lifted her chin. "Mama, Baba," she began, her voice trembling slightly but steady, "I did this because I wanted freedom. I wanted to move, play, explore, and learn like the boys. I wanted to show that girls can do the same things and that our abilities are not limited by what others expect. I did not mean to hurt anyone. I just wanted a chance to be myself." There was silence. The villagers who had gathered around listened closely. Some were shocked, others murmured among themselves, and a few looked impressed by her courage. Her parents exchanged glances, worry and concern written clearly on their faces, but they did not interrupt. Amina continued, speaking from the heart. "I learned so much while I was Amin," she said. "I helped organize festivals, taught children to play fairly, and worked with the elders. I learned to speak confidently, think clearly, and act responsibly. I learned that I am capable of more than I was allowed to try before. I am not asking anyone to approve of me immediately, but I hope you can understand why I did this." Some villagers began to speak up. "It is unusual," said Elder Baraka slowly, "but she has shown skill, courage, and intelligence beyond her age. Perhaps there is value in what she has done." A few mothers whispered among themselves, nodding. The younger boys who had played football with Amin stared quietly, realizing that their friend had been braver and smarter than they had understood. Others, however, were angry. "She should have followed tradition," a man shouted. "Girls are not meant to act like boys. This is disrespectful." A group of older women shook their heads, murmuring disapproval. Amina's heart sank, but she held her ground, knowing that her actions had meaning beyond immediate approval. Her parents stepped closer. Halima took her daughter's hand and spoke softly. "Amina, we were scared when we saw this," she said. "We worried that people would mock you, that others would blame us. But we also see that you acted with courage and thought. We may not understand fully yet, but we want to hear more from you." Idris nodded. "It is true," he said. "You have shown strength, responsibility, and intelligence. We are proud of you, even if we are worried about the tradition you broke." The villagers slowly began to calm down. They had seen Amina's contributions as Amin, the games she organized, the children she taught, the festivals she helped plan. Her work spoke louder than any rule or expectation. Some parents began to approach her, nodding in approval or offering quiet praise. Children ran up to her, excited to ask questions or show her what they had learned from the football games. Amina felt relief and a quiet joy. While not everyone approved immediately, many were beginning to see the courage, skill, and heart behind her actions. Over the next few days, word of Amina's bravery spread through the village. Some villagers remained skeptical, insisting that girls should not dress like boys or take on responsibilities usually reserved for males. But others began to reflect on her achievements and courage. The elders who had once dismissed her ideas started listening when she spoke. Friends who had only known Amin began to understand the truth and respect her for both her intelligence and bravery. Amina noticed that slowly the village was beginning to change, not completely but in small, important ways. At home, Amina's family adjusted too. Musa, her younger brother, was proud of her and often walked beside her, helping her with chores or playing football. Halima, her mother, continued to worry but also recognized her daughter's determination and skill. She sometimes smiled quietly, acknowledging the lessons Amina had learned and the confidence she had gained. Idris, her father, was cautious but respectful, often asking her opinion on important matters and listening carefully to her suggestions. Amina herself learned new lessons from this experience. She realized that courage could be misunderstood, that people could be angry or skeptical even when someone acted with good intentions. She learned that showing who you truly are takes bravery, and that sometimes, respect must be earned through action and persistence rather than words alone. She also felt gratitude for those who understood her secretly, like Lami, her friend, whose quiet support made her journey easier. One afternoon, Amina sat by the river reflecting on the events. She thought about the day her hair was exposed, the whispers of the villagers and the fear she had felt. But she also remembered the moments of admiration, the smiles of children, and the words of encouragement from the elders. She understood that her actions had changed not only her life but the village itself. Slowly, she had begun to show that girls could be strong, clever, and capable, challenging the long-held expectations without destroying the community's sense of unity. With time, the villagers' opinions shifted more. Those who had scolded or doubted her began to notice the positive impact of her work. Children she had taught played fair and cooperated more. Festivals ran more smoothly, and community events were more organized thanks to her contributions. Even skeptics began to acknowledge her courage quietly, realizing that sometimes breaking tradition did not mean disrespect, but could mean courage, innovation, and intelligence. Amina also learned the importance of patience. Not everyone accepted her immediately, but over time her consistent actions, honesty, and courage helped them understand her motives. She saw that understanding could grow slowly, that people could learn to admire and respect her even if they did not fully agree at first. She also learned that sharing her heart and intentions openly could transform fear or anger into understanding. At home, life returned to a balance. Amina continued to help with chores and responsibilities as a girl, but she was also allowed to explore, play, and pursue activities she loved. Her parents slowly began to trust her judgment and allowed her to take on more responsibilities openly. Musa became her ally, often playing and learning with her. Even Lami became a close companion in her adventures, sharing laughter and encouraging her to continue pursuing her dreams. Through it all, Amina's heart grew stronger. She realized that discovery and exposure, though frightening at first, could lead to understanding, respect, and personal growth. Her secret identity as Amin had opened doors, but revealing her true self had deepened her courage and earned her genuine respect. She had proven that bravery, intelligence, and integrity mattered more than appearances or gender. And so, Amina continued her life, wiser and braver. She had faced the shock of discovery, the judgment of some villagers, and the worry of her family. Yet she had also experienced admiration, respect, and understanding. She knew that her journey was far from over, but she had learned the power of honesty, courage, and persistence. Her life had been forever changed, not only by her disguise but by the lessons she gained when her true self was finally revealed. Time passed in the village, and Amina continued to grow in confidence, skill, and courage. The day her true identity was revealed seemed like a long time ago, yet it had changed everything. What had started as fear and whispers gradually shifted to admiration and respect. Villagers began to see her not just as a girl who had dressed like a boy, but as a young person who had shown intelligence, courage, and leadership beyond her years. Amina's actions had earned her a place in the hearts of the community, and slowly the village itself began to change. Her parents, who had once worried and questioned her choices, now approached her with quiet pride. Halima often watched her daughter with a smile, noticing the determination and joy in her eyes. She realized that Amina's bravery had taught her a lesson as well, that children, when trusted and encouraged, could achieve remarkable things. Idris, her father, had begun to seek Amina's advice on small matters in the village, such as organizing events or helping neighbors with work. "You have a sharp mind, Amina," he said one day. "We may not have understood before, but now we see the wisdom in your courage." Musa, her younger brother, was her constant companion. The two spent hours exploring the village, climbing trees, and playing football together. Musa admired Amina not only for her skill but for her boldness in standing up for herself. "You're amazing," he said once, laughing as they raced across the fields. "I wish I could be as brave as you." Amina smiled at him, feeling warmth in her heart. She knew that by being herself she had also inspired those closest to her. Amina's freedom to dress as she liked became a symbol for her independence. She no longer felt restricted by the clothes or roles society expected of her. Sometimes she wore pants and a shirt, sometimes a simple dress depending on what she wanted or needed to do. Each choice reminded her and others that a person's abilities and courage are more important than appearances. Children began to follow her example, seeing that girls could climb trees, play football, and explore just as freely as boys. Even some adults slowly began to question old rules, realizing that restrictions often limited talent and happiness rather than protecting the community. Her reputation as both clever and brave grew with each passing day. Amina helped organize festivals, taught children, assisted elders with projects, and even mediated small disputes in the village. She had learned to combine her courage with wisdom, understanding when to speak and when to act quietly. People turned to her for advice and guidance, trusting her judgment and respecting her heart. She felt proud, knowing that her contributions were valued and that her actions were making a difference in the lives of those around her. Despite all the praise, Amina remained humble. She remembered the fear she had felt when her secret was first exposed, the whispers of disapproval, and the moments of doubt when she wondered if she had made the right choice. These memories reminded her that courage was not the absence of fear, but the ability to act despite it. She wanted others to see that bravery and self-belief mattered more than conformity, and that respecting oneself could inspire others to do the same. The village slowly adapted to her influence. Festivals became more inclusive, games were fairer for children of all genders, and girls began to participate more actively in activities previously reserved for boys. Amina noticed the change with quiet satisfaction. What had started as a personal choice, to dress as a boy and explore freedom, had grown into a small transformation for the entire village. People were learning to see ability and courage before appearance or tradition. Amina also spent time mentoring younger children, especially girls, teaching them skills and encouraging them to explore their talents. She showed them how to climb trees safely, play football, and solve problems creatively. Her words and actions inspired them, and many began to dream of possibilities they had never considered. Amina felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that she was shaping the next generation in small but meaningful ways. Her parents noticed the difference as well. Halima had become less strict, more willing to encourage her daughter's adventures and decisions. She watched Amina with pride as she interacted with children and villagers, realizing that her daughter had grown into a wise and courageous young person. Idris, too, had learned lessons from Amina's actions. He often reflected on how traditions could limit potential, and he began to respect his daughter's independence and judgment. The entire family had grown through her choices, learning that love, understanding, and respect could overcome fear of the unknown. Even Lami, her friend, continued to support her quietly. Lami admired Amina's courage and celebrated her successes. Together they explored, played, and shared dreams for the future. Amina was grateful for this friendship, knowing that someone who understood her fully was rare and precious. Their bond strengthened over time, teaching Amina the importance of trust, loyalty, and quiet support in the journey of life. Amina's life was not without challenges, of course. Occasionally, someone in the village would question her choices, or she would face a situation that required careful thinking and courage. But she had learned to navigate such moments with confidence, patience, and cleverness. Each challenge became an opportunity to demonstrate wisdom and strength, proving that she could handle responsibility and adversity gracefully. Over time, the village's view of girls began to shift. Other young girls saw Amina as a role model. They realized that they could explore, play, learn, and grow in ways previously denied to them. Boys, too, learned to respect the talents and abilities of girls. The small changes in attitude gradually influenced the broader community. What Amina had begun as a personal act, dressing as a boy for freedom, had sparked a ripple effect of respect, equality, and courage. Amina herself continued to reflect on her journey. She remembered the fear of being discovered, the thrill of freedom, the pride of success, and the loneliness of hiding her true self. She understood that all of these experiences had shaped her into a stronger, braver, and wiser person. She had learned that courage was not about acting without fear, but about standing firm in the face of it. She had learned that self-belief was more powerful than criticism or judgment. Her daily life became a balance of adventure, responsibility, and reflection. She continued to explore the village, help elders, teach children, and inspire others. She had learned to take pride in her abilities without arrogance, to lead without forcing others, and to act with both courage and compassion. Each day reminded her that her choice to be herself had been the start of something bigger than herself, and that her actions mattered far beyond what she had imagined. Eventually, even some of the villagers who had initially disapproved came to admire her. They noticed her kindness, intelligence, and bravery. They saw that she had worked hard, respected the community, and acted with integrity. Slowly, their criticism faded, replaced by quiet acknowledgement and respect. Amina realized that change takes time, but that consistent effort and courage could influence even the most stubborn minds. One evening, as the sun set behind the hills, Amina sat quietly with her parents and Musa. They watched the orange sky and laughed about the day's adventures. Halima reached out and squeezed her daughter's hand. "Amina," she said softly, "you have taught us more than we ever imagined. We are proud of you and we understand your courage. Idris nodded, his face calm but proud. You have shown wisdom, strength, and bravery. You have changed not only your life but ours as well. Musa grinned. You're my hero, he said, hugging her tightly. Amina smiled, feeling a warmth in her heart that she had never felt before. Her choice had changed her life forever. She had faced fear, defied tradition, and pursued her freedom and dreams. She had proven that courage, intelligence, and self-belief mattered more than rules or appearances. She had inspired others to see that girls could be strong, capable, and independent. She had transformed not only her own life, but also the lives of those around her. As the stars appeared in the night sky, Amina reflected on her journey. She thought about the moment she first cut her hair, the excitement of exploring as Amin, the challenges she had faced, and the respect she had earned. She realized that each step, each risk, and each act of courage had built the person she had become. She was no longer just a girl in a village, she was a symbol of bravery, independence, and self-belief. And so, Amina continued to live her life boldly. She dressed as she liked, explored freely, helped others, and inspired the village to see strength, courage, and ability beyond tradition. Her journey was far from over, but she knew one thing for certain. The choices she had made, the risks she had taken, and the courage she had shown had created a life full of freedom, respect, and purpose. She had proven to herself and everyone around her that fear and tradition could never outweigh courage and self-belief. Her story became a quiet legend in the village, a tale told to children about the girl who dared to be herself, who showed bravery in the face of rules, and who inspired a community to see the power of courage, intelligence, and independence. Amina's life had been forever changed, and in turn she had changed the lives of many others.